have three fabulous guests. We've got our resident academic, Professor Chris Brady. Chris is at the University of Salford, but author of the 90-Minute Manager. What's your qualification, football qualification?
I'm a UEFA licensed coach.
But don't let that put you off. So we're very pleased to have Rick Parrish. Many of you may know from not too long ago, Rick was Chief Executive at Liverpool FC, helping managing the transformation. Now Director at New York Cosmos I couldn't name all the things he's involved in, but we're going to have some fun. A transatlantic view, businessman, football director, we're going to have some fun. And Dana Rowland, who, official title at Barclays.
I'm the head of brand reputation and citizenship.
How slick for a marketing player. Please give them all a welcome. So why don't we throw something up to Enemy? Just, what is the business of sport? What should be the business of sport? Or should it just have stayed in those halcyon days of fantastic amateurs that should never touch the commercial world? Views.
Okay. And actually, as I've watched sport through various jobs, the thing that I see is the passion that people have, the emotional engagement you get by attaching your brand to sport is almost unstoppably powerful. But because one of the problems is, well, is to bring that to life in the boardroom. How do people understand that? So, I think it's a very powerful force for good for brands.
Yes.
It's very powerful for societies as well. My wife is Spanish. If she was sitting here, she'd be very angry with me because she, on the other hand, hates football because Franco used it for political purposes. And actually, whichever way you look at sport, it's been very powerful all over the world. And today, as you just showed, it's unstoppable.
There is a passion about sport that you can't suppress. The question for the businesses is how do you monetize that? How do you do that? Is it force for good or evil? Do we go back to Orwell and war by another name and all that sort of thing? Clearly, there are downsides to what happens.
One of the really important things that I believe passionately when you're running a sports business, and indeed when you're running any business these days, is the importance of values. Very clear articulation of values.
What we're interested in is all of the best things about football, because in contrast, football at its best is redolent with the values that you talk about. Liverpool are, and actually the people that make football great are, of course, the fans that follow it, and the people who shell out the money to watch pay-per-view and do everything, and they're the ones that we thank and celebrate, actually. So
let's switch pace a bit. America. Many would say the home of the commercialisation of sport, but it's a massive force for good. Rick, you're a director at New York Cosmos. You have an exposure to North America. In what direction are they going? And is that a direction that perhaps we should be following?
Well, it's easy to highlight the differences and the things that we say would never happen with football. And you have to look at them as a whole. And essentially what you've got revenue sharing, you've got hard wage capping, and you've got no promotion and relegation.
But there's a model there. And the Premier League seems to be moving towards it, and it's brilliantly successful. And it's we had the last time we had the business of football, one of our American guests who happens to be here was saying that they took a very hard-nosed commercial look at sports and pushed it down the commercial road, and it seems to have worked. We have well-intentioned amateurs running most of our sports bodies. Surely that can't be sustainable.
Here's a thought, because we look at the success of the Premier League and the enormous numbers in pounds terms. It's not only been immensely successful for the Premier League, it's been incredibly successul for Sky, who virtually was bankrupt in '91, now making 1.2 billion operating profit. How many subscribers has Sky got? 10.6 million.
Wow.
How many iPads are Apple going to sell in 2015?
100 billion?
150 million. The rumours about Google denied buying bwin, and by the way, why wouldn't they? But
So what you're saying is...
when that starts to roll, and when by 2015 you have 500 million TV sets connected to the internet, when do Google, when do Microsoft, when do Apple become content buyers? And by the way, when they do, why are they going to look at geographical boundaries?
Again, let me push up, before we take our break, let me push you guys 10 years out. 2024 to 2025. the business of sport, it's commercially, it's achieved everything it possibly could for us here in the UK. What will have changed? What will the world look like? Where sport and business have embraced beautifully. What sort of changes? Will it be regeneration? Will it be different stadia? Will it be money coming in? Will it be more exports? What will we see?
I think we won't necessarily be looking at a UK landscape. Back to the point I was making earlier, when Apple, when Microsoft come on board with rights, are we going to see, in football terms, are we going to see a World League of Shanghai Rovers and Mexico City, New York City? That one's already underway with Manchester City. I mean, who knows? We've always said it'll never happen, but...
So the death of boundaries, we see global sports.
Yeah.
Chris?
I agree. I think what will happen, there will be an Americanisation in terms of farm teams, I think, globally as well, so that you've got this enormous revenue at the top level actually filtering down in a more structured way. At the moment it filters down sort of almost in an ad hoc way.
Will you be thinking about global? As one of the biggest sponsors of sports in Europe, 10 years from now, will you still be sponsoring sports?
I don't know, I hope so, but what I think sport should be doing is more things to have a positive social impact. So if I look at some of the work we do through Spaces for Sports or our life skills programme in the UK, and it's great that we've now got 12 of the Premier League clubs that signed up for life skills. That means they're getting work placements to meet.
What is life skills? What is it?
Life skills is a commitment we've made to make sure that school leavers leave equipped with employability skills, money skills, interview skills, CV writing skills, and it's life skills created by Barclays, because we understand the power of partnership. So we're working with other companies through schools and through the Premier League to give work placement to make sure that by 2015 1 million school children are equipped to go out there and get a better chance of getting a job. Because if you look at our big societal issues, employability is one all over our footprint. What can we do? What can we do to leverage our relationship with the Premier League? And actually, we sponsor the Barclays Centre in Brooklyn, and we just agreed that we will start Spaces for Sports in Brooklyn, and we're going to work alongside the Brooklyn Nets to do the same thing. So I think sport actually focusing itself on what can we do to make society better is something I'd love to see, and I think we'll see more of it.
Fabulous. Please give them a warm round of applause.